Hello everyone and welcome to a tutorial of building in Stonehearth. From the very beginning, the basics of the game, I'm gonna go through the different tools and a little bit how I can use them. And then later down the road we will go down into more of like advanced ways to do things. But we're gonna start from the very basic. We're gonna skip hotkeys, but I'm also gonna name the hotkeys so you know how to access them. So we want to make a building. So where do we start? Down here we have the little house, design building. You can also press B as it says here. That brings you to this menu. So let's start with the UI thing here. To the top left, that's the name of your building. Whenever you want to save a building, this is where you put in the name of your building. So here you can type whatever you want. We can name this like first building. And we press enter, it saves it. And then we can build it here. This one shows all the resources, all the requirements of furniture that you need. Up here we have some erase, that's for like erasing portion of buildings. We will get into that. We can undo, we can redo whatever we're doing. Here we can click. This is what you want to click every time when you make a new building. I highly suggest that you always make sure to click this one. Do you want to start a new building project? Yes. So now we can name this second building. Like that, and now we have two different buildings. And you can also press this to save, but you can also find them in here. So if you type in here first building, because we haven't really added anything, you can see the images in there, but we're gonna see that when we make our third building. We can see second buildings over here as well, and we can put it out pretty much. So to do this in the right way, let's click to make a new building. Very nice. And here we can also destroy a building. So if you have a building, we can destroy that one. So down here to the bottom left we have the different floor levels. If you have a building that have multiple floors, you want to use this one to be able to like go through the building, and we will go so as we progress. And down here you have different things that you can put inside of your building. You got the decoration, we got furniture, we got the doors, we got windows. So all these categories will be populated with things when your profession, like the carpenter for example in this case, is crafting things and leveling up. So more things are gonna pop up here the longer you play the game and the more mods you have and so on and so forth. So down here you have, I would say, one of the most important parts of the UI for this. So here we have the pointer. I personally don't really use that, but you can go back to that. So if you go to room, then we can go back to pointer if you want to. And we're gonna start going through tool by tool, but just briefly. We got rooms, we got walls, we can split the walls. We can make a roof, the block tool, this one kind of think as Minecraft sort of. Here we got painting for texturing, like putting on colors to blocks. Holes, made for creating holes in voxels, we're gonna show that. Stairs, and we got the road tool as well. Okay, so let's get started. Let's bring this, it's morning, it's gonna be a little bit easier. I'm using a debug tool just so we can do this easily. Okay, let's see if we have no rain today as well. Okay, so I would say the most basic way, if you want to customize your buildings, you could get in here. For example, if you play Ascendancy, there are a lot of pre-made like these ones. You can use these ones. These are made by the developers. So you can use those if you want to. But this is a building tutorial, so we're not gonna go very much into that. We will eventually when we get into more advanced things, however. So here we have the room tool. What this does is that you can click, drag it out. You can see how the size is 11 by 13. That's like the amount of blocks in each direction. Very useful. I use this very often because I tend to do buildings that have odd numbers because that fits with a lot of decorations in a good way. So we can let go and we see we created walls surrounding it. We created a floor as well. You can see that's actually one block up. So this is the floor. And sometimes you want it to go underground, and I'm going to show you how you do that. So if you click the floor, you have this little green arrow. With this green arrow, you can bring it down as much as you want. And down here, it's going to create issues because it's red. Red is not good. But we can bring it down one level. Or we can bring it up. But then we would have needed to have support if this wouldn't have gone further up, right? Because we have something to support it. That's why it's going red. Okay, so let's bring it down. And let's bring it down one more step. This is usually how I do it. So if you have the room tool, you can actually double click this one to select it all. You can also click one, so you can go back and forth between these. And I want to show you how we can change colors. So maybe you have this wall here, you want it to be that color, this wall, green color, this one, another color. So I'm picking from these ones. So we have walls, we have columns. These are the different kind of resources. We got wood, we got clay bricks, we got stone, we got raw clay, we got thatching. And these might differ depending on what mods you got installed. And we can change the last final one as well. So there we go, 4 different kinds of colors. And as you saw as well, column here. This is where we change these. So if I click that, it changes that one. Click this one, change that one. So because we're using the room tool, it's changing just one every time pretty much. But another way you can do this is that you can double click this with the room tool. That will select all of them at once. And if you can even hold shift to click both of them, then you can change these two. Very good. Or we can add another one, change it to that as well. Go to column, change all columns to be the same. But like I said, we can double click, go wall. Okay, we want to have white walls again. We want to have column to be yellow maybe. That's how we do that. Okay, so that's that. And then I also want to go through. So when you select the wall, you see you get these axes that you can touch and move around. So what this does do is that this extends it. It kind of like extrudes it, but it also brings this wall with it. So we can use this to like do a lot of things. We can also use this one to increase the height. But just as before, if you double click, we can adjust them all at the same time. However, we have to do a single one when we do this thing. Because, yeah, it would be a little bit strange if it would work otherwise. So that's a lot for the walls, I would say. But since we already have the room tool here, have it set up, I actually want to head towards some other tools. We have the wall. So the wall is just a wall. We can click inside of here, drag it like that, left to right. I always recommend this thing when you're making a building. So let's say we have this building. So at the side here, drag out the wall. You can see I'm dragging from left to right. This is important because I'm going to show you another tool in the UI. So down here we have the building vision. The V key is the hotkey for that. So if I click that, you can see I can see the wall. If I rotate, however, I can see it. So pretty much whenever you want to see through that direction when you're using this one, you always want to make sure with the wall tool that you drag left to right. So let me show what happens if I drag left from right to left. We can't see through it, but from this side we can. So always important. So let's say you would be making like this square. It would probably be, let's go away from that. Make it like that, so make a 7, and then you would like keep going and keep adding. I don't really myself use this a lot, but you would like go around like this. It's left, left, left. And when you use this one, you can go around to look through it, because that's very handy. You want to be able to look through it at times. So that's that for that. And as you can see here, we have a lot of possible tools available with the wall tool. So let's just remove this one. Now we can see the rubber, the eraser tool. Let's click that. It removes the entire thing, as you can see. I would say pretty much everything that's like connected as an object. So here we have a lot of different axes. We can take this one, we can extend it that way, can extend it this way, we can decrease or increase the height. And with this one, it's really cool, by the way, the blue here. We can actually move it around with that one. Really cool, right? Very nice. Okay, so let's go to the next tool. They are kind of similar, but still at the same time they're not. And you can combine them, of course. I can drag up here to add a wall on this one. And I can also make it like another room above the other room. Just make sure that it's somehow connected at some point. So you see, we still have one connected here. However, if I would go like that and then I would move this with the blue one, it's not connected. But if I would add another wall here, okay, it doesn't work for the wall, it seems. But if I would add a block here, you can see it's not red anymore because it's connected with that one down to that one. So it doesn't connect diagonally between these, for example. So even if I do that, that's not going to work. But if I do this, that's going to make them connected. Okay, so let's remove this as well. Okay, next tool. So the next tool is the split wall, and this one is very handy and super cool, useful. So what you can do, you click that one, you can see this, you can see the column kind of, which is that thing. And you can click on the wall like this, it adds one, and it adds another one here, right? And then the cool thing is, like you saw before, you can click here to do this, right? You can see it also goes away because we didn't adjust it. But the cool thing is that you can click this now and you can extend this out, so creating new shapes with it. Very, very useful, right? And we can bring it back again, and you see as I bring it back, they also go away. So you can actually undo it. And for whatever reason, if you couldn't, you can also, like in the very beginning of the video, use the redo and undo button, and it is the same keys as on your standard softwares like Ctrl-Z or Ctrl-Shift-Z to redo and Ctrl-Z to undo. And they will go back. All of them. But yeah, split wall is super powerful. But then we have roofs. So this is your standard, non-really custom roof. You can do custom stuff for it for sure now, however. So you see the green here? And we have some setting and drop walls. That means if you want to have walls added, this is how the slope is going to be. I'm going to show it as we add it. So I'm just clicking in one corner, dragging it to the other corner, and we get this. Pretty cool, right? So if I unclick this one, drop walls. See, maybe I have to do that ahead of time. Let's go back a bit. Have they changed that maybe? There we go. So it becomes like that. I think it's a UI bug or something. But you see no walls. And I think if I select it, there we go. And here we can see like this is a slope. We got front and back. So if I remove back, you can see it changes. So only keeping the front. This is the front that's being sloped. Very cool. And we can add back, and we can also do all directions if you want to. So you can really easily, like, if you don't prefer to do your own custom roof with blocks and so on, you can definitely do some pretty cool stuff with this. And other than that, let me show you. So we have the roof here. Maybe you want it to be flatter, maybe you want it to be like more taller, more aggressive slope. You can click this one. This one actually brings the walls up and everything, pretty cool. But then if you click the little more like bright blue one and drag it up, you get a very, very pointy roof. You are still, however, limited amount, about 1 block per time, but it's really useful. You might want to have a flat roof sometimes, you might want to have a tall sometimes. And the cool thing is that, let's just, for the sake of it, let's combine these two systems. So, let's split a wall down here. Take this one, push it out. And then we can use the roof here, can add another roof above here. Suddenly we have another beautiful roof. And as you saw earlier on, we're not going to go too far with it at the moment. We can double click, that selects everything. We can bring down everything down. So we can have a very short building or a very tall building. So really, really adaptable in most cases. So there we go. So that's the roof tool, very, very useful. And you can keep adding roofs on roofs, and you can find interesting ways to create roofs with this. And just play around. I would recommend to play around with the slopes when you're doing this thing. So you can see here, we're kind of getting like a dormer, like you can add a window here, for example. So let's, for now, leave it there. Alright, I'm just going to change the column color here. You can see easily change that because we can double click. And in this case as well, for roofs. There are different colors of roof. There are columns, there are walls, which you can also adapt. So let's first go through the roof themselves. So let's select the big guy here. So this is the dark Chocolatto roof, I guess. And then we have another one. And you can just keep clicking these to change the texture of the roof pretty much. It's really, really cool. And as you can see, this is thatching roofs. This is wooden roof, clay brick. And you can see even the style changes. So this is more for the desert people, the rice children. Then we have stone, pretty cool. This one is very like a pointy castle kind of top of it. Very awesome, right? So you have a lot of different choices when you're doing this. But you can see also that it resets, but that's fine. You know, the bright blue one. Pull it up like that. And for some reason it caused issues, and I think it's related to this one. Because you're intersecting in a weird way. Ah, I know. We have the back at the walls again. Okay, there we go. Very nice. And we can bring this one back. There you go. Very nice. So, just like selecting everything there, we can select everything here as well and change all of their columns to be the same color here. And we all have all the different materials. We can change the walls color, for example. Maybe we want the tops to be like darker than the bottom. We can do it like that. Very nice, right? Okay, so that's a lot for the roof. Like I said, I'm gonna go more into like a more advanced tutorial. Usually how I do design things, but I think this is a good way to like start out, experiment, and do feel free, like do dare to try things. You should be trying things. That's how I learned a lot. I have some crazy weird idea and I'm just like, I wonder if this is even gonna work, but give it a try, see what happens. I mean, not gonna lose very much on trying it, right? But alright, okay, so that's the roof tool, the basic of it at least. I do want to show one little thing that's kind of working for all tools, however. So let's say you have the roof here. You do have the Pipette Tool. This is a color grabber, so I click something and it will grab the color and change to that color. So in this case I have wall selected. If I go to roof, it doesn't exist. Column, that does exist, but roof are a bit special because they aren't a singular color. They are more like an pattern of colors, as you can see on this one, right? Okay, next tool. This is my favorite tool, but it's also one of the more advanced tools in the game. It is a block tool. Think of Minecraft playing a game. You're making your house of individual blocks. Everything is that. So I can click, I can keep adding. This used to be the old Stonehearth. You had to click add every single block. There was no way to do, and otherwise. What you can do nowadays, if you use the block tool, we are undoing that. Click, drag, cool, right? And you can like drag around here. So let's drag out a little bit. Some directions. So there we go. So here we have some blocks, and you can keep adding here, but there are better, more efficient ways to do this. So how can you do? You can left click while you have the pointer, drag here, and you can extrude this up. So that way you can make things. And you can double click it once again, bring it down. Very nice. I can also double click all of them, bring them all up at the same time with the yellow one. Very cool, right? And as we're playing with the block tool, I think we're gonna go into the paint tool at the same time. But you can also, for example, you saw we can extrude this, right? But we can also bring them down. And what you can also do with this block tool, when you have used that, you can select, let's say these 4 blocks, or let's say these 6 blocks, 2 by 3. You can actually push it in like that, and you made a hole. And that could be like a window. You don't really have to make holes for windows in Stonehearth, but there are occasions where you do want to like move things, and I'm actually going to show you an example of that. So let's say we want to make like a nice kind of like sculpture thingy. We maybe bring it up like that. So what we did, we just drag it out, extrude it up, double click, extrude. First do this, double click, you see everything selected, extrude it up. Let's go back. So what we can do here, we can select an area. Okay, I want to bring that in, I want to bring that in, I want to bring this in. So you can be like thinking this as almost like playing around with clay or something, like you're removing a few pieces that you don't want. And you can keep removing from it. So you can do all kinds of things, and in this case, for example, maybe you would remove a few in each corner. And I went too far there, but it's fine, we can just drag it back like this, right? And that's very good. And maybe we want to have it even more, so let's drag away even more of this. So you can see I'm just selecting, using the yellow arrow to make them go in like that. There we go. And that's pretty nice. And maybe want it, the top here, we want to like remove a few things. Okay, so we can make all kinds of things, and now we can double click, because you see, when we double click something for the blocks, it will only select the blocks that are connected. So these are one step below. So I can't get at the same time, but I can get all of these at the same time. So if I would go like this, I would select these in the middle. Now if I double click, I only get those. Now if I double click that, I only get these 3. You can see they have to be connected kind of on the same level for it to work, really. And then we can use this one to remove the entire thing if we want to. However, let's just go back a bit. And I want to show a few more little things. Okay, so that's kind of the block tool. We have all these different colors as before. We can also grab colors, so it's really useful, especially when you're building a town. Like, okay, I want to make sure I get the color I had on my other building. I just click this tool, go grab it. Now we got that one. Click this tool, go grab that. Now we got that color, right? So very useful. And since we are very close to the paint tool, really powerful, cool tool, we're gonna do that at the same time. So I want to use these columns, but I want to have them on these. But these are made by blocks. So if I double click this one, there's no column, no floor, no nothing. That's like the thing with blocks. They are very, very powerful, but they're also lacking some of the pre-built things that a normal room tool like this one has. Like this one has walls, it has floors. You can double click to change all walls, you can double click to change all columns, you can select the individual things, which is really, really powerful, super quick. So if you want to make quick stuff, that might be a better option for you. But if you go to the paint tool, we can grab that one and we can start just painting wherever we want. And in this case, I'm actually painting these columns. And the cool thing now that we have painted it is if I double click this one, bring it down, it's the same color, and bring it up, it's the same color, because whenever you're like extruding something up like we're doing here now, like I'm double clicking, extruding it, I'm bringing the same colors with me as the colors that are selected. And this way, for example, we can create a building, maybe it's like that, I'm gonna say like a little bit medievally themed building. And if we want to, we can do that like for every corner. Sometimes I do other styles. Sometimes I do like every other one. I do like this, pretty good stuff. I do that in every corner. It looks pretty good. But let's do this way this time. Okay, so since we were at the block tool, before we go too far with other tools, I want to show you like how we can make, for example, up here, we can use a combination of tools. So we use the block tools. We could add a wall tool up here. And we can customize this wall, and we're gonna go towards the hole tool very soon, just so I can show you that. We can also drop like a room tool above it. It does work with that. It does work with everything. We can also use the pre-made roof tool here as well. No problems at all. And we can change the direction of this one. Bring it up like that. And since we have an even number, we're gonna end up with double in the middle. That makes sense. Math, you know. And then we can use the rubber tool to remove the entire thing. Very, very nice. Okay. So, the hole tool. I'm gonna show you a few variations. So, we're kind of treading into a little bit more of the complicated things. Just before the hole tool, I'm actually gonna go through a few other tools just before we get to that one. Because it's very powerful and I don't wanna end up with too much advanced things too early. So if you have used the block tool, what you could do is that you can use the road tool, and the road tool, you can think of it as like a floor as well. So I'm gonna grab that one, beautiful texture, I click in one corner, I just drag it across to the other corner, there we go, got a beautiful floor. We can move this around as well as we see fit. And the cool thing, by the way, if using block tool, if you hold the shift key, you can actually move the entire block. Because these are all connected. I can hold shift and I can do this thing. I can move the entire thing up and down to the corner. Very powerful stuff. And now I'm just undoing it to get it in place again. Very, very powerful things. So let's say we want to make a 2-story building. Alright, so we go into the stair tool. The stair tool is very powerful. I myself, I would say I pretty much never use it. It's really useful though, especially if you're new to the game. But you can see how the staircase is going to be. Like, bam, you get a stair, you don't have to do much. And then you can also select the stair after and make it hollow, so it's actually some air underneath it. Very awesome, because maybe you have like a basement under there. And the cool thing with the stair tool is that you can adjust this with these purple pinkish arrows. I can decrease the width, I can make it wider, we can make so it goes longer. And you can see it's like hitting the wall up here. So it's kind of climbing naturally up, right? And we can also make it further in this way. Like, there's a lot of things you can do with this. It's really, really powerful. There we go, we can reach the top, and if you want to have it not hollow, you can just go back click that, and then it's solid again. So I felt like it was a good idea to maybe go back to this one first, like before we get too far with everything else. So we're doing a 2-story building. We should probably have started with a 1-story, but I think it's going to be good this way, more interesting. So now we're going through pretty much all the tools, I would say, except for the hole tool. So the hole tool, we're going to use that in combination, but I'm going to show you how it works at the core at first. So what you can do, click that, you can drag here, that makes a hole. Compared to the rubber will remove the entire thing that is connected, as you can see. Meanwhile, the hole tool is more for like, okay, I want these blocks gone. And you can do the same thing with the block tool like that, right? However, when using, for example, this is a block tool, but here we have walls. You can't actually select individual blocks. So in this case, if you do need a hole for whatever reason, you can use the hole tool, make a hole. Maybe you need a hole here in the roof for whatever reason, because you're getting into more advanced building. Maybe you want to have a chimney here or something. You make a little hole. So the hole tool works on every of these tools that are creating these voxel blocks pretty much. It works on the floor as well. Very, very good indeed. Okay, so now I want to show you a little bit how we can make use of this as well. So let's say we want to make a custom roof where we are at this point without making it a 2-story building. So you go to the block tool. We have many options for this. I just want to say that ahead of time. So there are many ways depending on what you prefer. So with the block tool, we can drag like this. What I'm doing here is pretty much I'm creating a wall. I'm doing this thing. So every step will go up 1. And then we do the same on this side. So that will allow me to drop a roof. And you remember, we can color grab, right, without the Pipette Tool. And now we can use the block tool still. And you can see when we use the block tool, we can actually drag it up like that. It actually depends a little bit. So if I click here, the face that is facing up, the brown one here, I can drag like this. But if I click at the side of a block, I can do this. So it goes up instead of to the side, right? So that's very useful to know. What I usually tend to do is that I tend to click at the sides when I do it. You can do whatever you like. And we're just adding these things here. I usually drag up 1. And why I do that is because I have had issues in the past when I have done this and then I gone down 1 block and you see it's going through there. I don't want that, right? But thankfully we can just redo or undo. Then we just keep adding these in here. But this way, if you do it this way, it's a little bit safer. It's not going to go down at least. And there we go. And maybe you want to have wind boards. So let's make wind boards for this. I'm grabbing that color over there with the Pipette Tool once again. I'm just clicking here. Heading over to the other side. There we go. Got some color on it. And if you decide like, okay, I don't want that color, I actually want this color, we just use the Pipette Tool once again, click that, grab the color. And with the paint tool, we can actually do it like this. We don't have to click. We can just drag it. But sometimes it's riskier than other times. Pretty cool. So that's kind of that. And I guess before we get into like texturing and stuff like that, I want to show the alternative, another version of this. So let's just make a room with the room tool here. Just remember before, we can drag it down. And now we're gonna do this wall with the wall tool instead. So remember, left to right. Go to the other side, left to right. And now we're gonna make use of the hole tool. So the hole tool, click that one. And we want to remove, so we go up 1 step every time, kind of as the block tool did, but instead we're using the hole tool to cut out things. And the good thing with this way is that this is going to allow us to look through it easier. I'm going to go through that a little bit with the block tool eventually as well, but it's going to be a lot easier to look it through, because if you remember, I can see through this direction because I dragged from left to right when I created it. left to right when I created it. You can see this one, I can't actually see through it at all, right? And that's also, once again, one of the downsides with the block tool, but also one of the powers of the block tool, which I will be going through eventually as well. So here we're just adding in some more roof above this. And while we are at this, I'm actually going to go through a pretty important thing. So I'm just going to fill in the same way here. We got some wind boards once again. And in this way, to save some time, I can actually just use this color once again here. You just gotta have to remember to go back and change it to whatever color we needed before. So, color tool, grab that pipette, fill it in, and there we go. And let's do this one in this way instead with the texture. So just painting in. And I feel like this is a very satisfying and good looking, easy to make texture to your house. Let's go every other block in a different color. There we go. And I highly recommend eventually that you play around. Like I'm grabbing this color, finding nearby colors, just add in a few like variation at some places when you make your fully custom houses. It just adds a bit more when you have a little bit of texture added. You can see like compared to like being totally flat, maybe you like it, maybe you don't, who knows. But yeah, if we click this one, we want to see through it, right? We remember we could see through the walls. Well, we can, but we can't see through the roof. We want to see through the roof, however. And now we're gonna see the comparison between a block way of the entire building versus an room version combined with wall version. So, if I click the roof, up here we can tag blocks as things. At the moment it is block. Block is something that you're never supposed to ever see through. Blocks are blocks, you don't see through them. Roofs, roof is something you can see through. Walls is something you can see through, depending on what direction you're looking from. So if we go back to wall, we can see the green little arrow. If you want to see through the roof in the direction, like for example, you see the green arrow is facing away from us. That means we're going to be able to see through it. If we go here, not going to be able to see, we're going to be able to see it again, and here we're not going to see it. But that's for walls. So in the case of roofs, we're doing it differently. So let's go back to this vision, select that, and we want it to be tagged as a roof. In this case, because of how we have built it, we have to go through each one of these. And I would recommend to have this vision on while you're doing this, because you can see them disappear when you're clicking them. And I highly recommend to pretty much always do that way, because you know if you messed up somewhere and you have to change something. But for roofs, you pretty much use the roof always. So here we're gonna see a little bit of the trouble then. Like we're getting into a bit more of advanced building ways. So if I click, for example, this one, you can see that's my selection, and who knows, maybe this will work fine. But if you go to make it to a wall, you can see the arrow is facing away from us, but what? We can see through the entire thing. That's not what we want, and that's the trouble with blocks. So it will consider the entire thing, because everything is blocks, everything is connected. When I'm tagging this as a wall, I'm actually tagging the entire building as a wall, and I'm using the green arrow in that direction for every single block. And that's one of the downsides of blocks. It makes it more complicated, but also makes you have more power to wield, but also comes with responsibilities. So what I would recommend, we're not going to do it at the moment, but I highly recommend when you're building something with blocks, we can do it super basic so I can show you. So let's say this is a wall. You bring this up. Already here, you want to tag it as something. For example, a wall. Set the normal. And then you do another wall. We can do like a column here in each corner. So this one was 7. Let's keep the same kind of width to this. And then we bring this up as well. And then what we do, you can see if I double click that one, they aren't the same. They aren't the same thing. And even if we do this thing, they shouldn't become the same thing. And you can see even when I double click that one, it's not going to select it because it's considering itself as like a group of blocks, sort of. So whenever I change any setting here, it's only going to affect whatever is selected in the yellow here. Same on this one. And in this case, we probably don't want to add this. So you can see how this is already like adding more complexion, but also making it more powerful because you have full customizability. But you have to be careful and think what you're doing. So now I rotated the normal. I should be able to see through it this way, not the other one, and this way and not the other one. Perfect. And in this case, you might have wanted to, for example, grab the cutter. You can see this one is its own thing, so this one always visible. And maybe that's how we want it to be. But sometimes that's not even what we want it to be either. Sometimes you want to only see like the bottom, you only care for the bottom really. So in that case, what I would do, I would probably take this one, drag it up, remove with the hole tool. You can see this is still its own thing, right? And this can always hide when we're trying to look with this tool. So I'm going to tag this as a roof. Then we're not going to see it ever with this tool. But then the very bottom piece we add after as a block, which makes it possible to always see it. And just imagine we had like a floor in here as well, to make it work pretty good. So that way we can customize. But as I said, if you are a beginner to this, feel free to try out the block tool. But do know it comes with a lot of risks. But as I said before, it's a good idea to combine tools. So for the sake of it, like this is going to be a pretty long tutorial. I'm probably going to make like a more advanced one later on to make like more some like beautiful houses, I suppose. But let's make a new one. So we can, like I said, we can combine tools. In this case, we're using the room tool. And then what we wanted to do, a combination of room tool and block tool. This one is actually not hard to do. So I'm just grabbing with the Pipette tool to get the color. Actually, just to make it stand out, let's grab this brown color. And the good thing with this thing, since the room tool isn't made with the same tool, they don't work in the same way. And with the block tool, it doesn't matter what the direction, left or right, that you drag it. That only really matters with the wall tool when you're gonna look through it. So the good thing if you have used the block tool down here, or the room tool, and then block tool, is that it's really easy to change how you look through it. So moving the green to face away from you while you're looking inside the building. So I am from the outside, selecting wall, and changing the cycle normal, so the green arrow is facing away from us. Now it's facing towards us, now it's facing away from us while we're looking into the building. Important that you look into the building, because if I would be doing this facing away from me, it's gonna be the wrong way. So there we go. And the good thing now, because we have tagged both these, as you can see, it is no problem to add the roof. But do keep in mind, if you're doing this way, if you want the walls and the roof to be separated, how they behave when you're looking through the with the vision, make sure that you first tag these, because when you haven't tagged them, they kind of become their own. We are a locked object, we are a group. We're not gonna let the roof in to be just in part of the same group. So as I keep adding a roof now, they are not gonna belong to the same thing. There are ways though to extend this group, to make it bigger, which I'm also gonna show you. So we can see that they are different. Let's add the little windboards here again. And I want to show you a handy thing, like depending on the style of your building, like the style of your roof, it's a way to make this change the entire roof instantly. So if you have the roof, you can see what I'm actually doing. I'm connecting all of these roof tile levels with each other. And this might even, you know, sometimes make a good looking roof, but it always depends on what kind of style that you're after and so on. But now if I actually select one roof part here, it will change them all because they are all connected. You see the walls, they are still intact, they are the same, just because we tagged them before we started dropping roof tiles upon it. So that's important. Very important. Alright, so that's that. I will go more into a lot of these things as we go, but I highly suggest if you ever feel tempted to do an entire block house, do make sure to tag things. Otherwise, what you will have to do later on is like to use the hole tool, cut away things, then change, like add and then change the things to be the correct tag, and then you have to go wall by wall and remove things, and it is a very, very tedious task to mess around with. You're probably gonna rebuild the entire house quicker than you have to do that. Okay, so let's go forward. Should we go with... We can go with the first building. I'm just gonna remove all of them. And do remember, as we are building now, we only click this once, which does mean that all these buildings are the same. So if I would actually click to build this now, they will build this and this at the same time. They will be part of the same building. As we can see, if I save this, it might not have a picture at the moment because it was saved before this. Let's name this 2 houses. You see, it look a little bit weird. It actually gives that one. You can see it's adding all freedom, and sometimes actually that was what you want to have. But do keep that in mind. So I'm gonna remove all of these, and now we're gonna head in and focus on a few other things. So time to look through this, and we can click this one, change the floor color. So we probably want to have something inside of the building as well. So maybe a little beautiful Hearthling want to sleep in here. Give them a bed. Go to this one, the furniture. Find a bed. You can also use the search here. Search for bed. You can find it. You can see there are also different categories for different things. And as I said in the beginning of the video, this will fill up as your crafters are leveling up in their professions. So the more the carpenter learns and they get more experience, the more cool things it's going to be able to build and add later on for decorations. So there we go. Let's see what more do we have. A wooden bar stool. Let's give them a table for 1. And maybe a little chair. And you can rotate things in the game when you're gonna be building them. And I'm actually unsure where the button is for that. I always use the hotkey for it. But what you can do for my keyboard, it's the comma tekken, I think. The little dot that I rotate with. It should come up here how you do it. And you can also customize these settings as you see fit in the settings menu to rotate them in a good way. But what I usually do is just to use the hotkey. But it would be nice if they were actually shown here somewhere. I got to admit that. I'm a hotkey user myself, so it doesn't affect me, but I know there are a lot of people who is not that, and that's fine, right? So yeah. Got a bed, got some table, got 2 chairs in there, very nice. Well, would be nice if you can also get into the building, right? At least the people that live there. So, here we have doors, and at the moment we have a robust door, we have a wooden door. I'm using a mod, so we're not going to go into that at the moment, but if you use a mod called Lost Stems, I suppose, you have variations of the door, and you can change them as you go, but we're not going to go into that at the moment. So let's add a door. I just click it, you can see it attaches to the wall very nicely. We can add it, very good. So there we go. And we can use the erase tool to erase it. You can see it goes red, erase it. Then we can just add it again. We can also click it to move it if we decide to do so at some point. And we probably want to have windows. And if you want, you can get my mod, my Glowy Windows Mod on Steam Workshop, which adds this beautiful window. And also this one. And this one. I don't use that very often, but... And also this one. That's for my windows, but there's a lot of like different windows types that you can use. But in this case, I'm actually going to go with my beautiful little windows. And the Glow Window Mod, just to advertise that a bit, I guess, I suppose, is that it makes the windows glow in the night and adds a few windows like these glass windows. That looks very, very nice. And perhaps in the back here we have 2 different kinds of windows. So as you can see, it's really easy to just keep adding windows. Really easy. You can go back, use a eraser to remove them. Very, very neat indeed. And then we have decorations. So maybe they want some light in here. I'm finding this one, a wooden wall candle holder. And if you're missing a few of these mods so you can use them, do look in the description. I will be having all the mods that I'm using in this tutorial video in there. but this one I think is from the Ace mod, which should be auto-subscribed whenever you download Stonehearth for the first time. So I'm adding a little bit of a candle over there, maybe a candle by the table as well. And we can go in here, and we can see maybe something more. Maybe we'll have some crates, they have some storage in here as well. Maybe they have some firewood outside to keep themselves warm in the night. And maybe they have a little cat or a dog, whatever you prefer. So they have a little eating spot for that. And bigger little box down there. So there's a lot of decoration possibilities and so on. Very neat. But there we go. So that's some decorations, and they will fill up as your crafter gains more experience. And maybe you want to have a candle where you go in so they can find a way into the door, go through, have a good lunch. Very nice. So then you save the building, either by adding name, pressing enter, go into this one, and I want to show you if you have a house. So we have this one. You can see it looks like it's multiple things, but I have changed it. So what I usually do, I go back to this one, I add it again, and then I save it again, because the game only takes a screenshot the very first time that you actually save the building, which is very odd. I don't know why it works that way. I mean, it is a very broken system that it works that way, and maybe that's fixable. I don't know, but that's a way. So now we can see it's on that house, and if you want to remove a building that you don't want to save anymore, click this one. Do you want to delete it? Make sure that you do want to do it. If you accidentally do it, if you have a save and you still have the building in game, you can just go back and like add it again, and it's gonna populate up here again. But it's still the same old image somehow. I don't know. I feel like it's pretty weird made. But anyway, then we can also click this one. So this doesn't remove the building in here, but it will remove the currently selected building, so it goes away. And now we're at this building. So I think that's gonna conclude the first episode of this building thing. Let's just instant build this so you can see how this one looks. Very basic, but it works. But I'm gonna go through like more complicated, more advanced things as we go. I know this is a pretty long tutorial, but I hope it's gonna be helpful. And if there are any other things that feel like I missed or something else you want to know, just let me know in the comments, and I will try to reply as good as possible. And before we end, I also want to show that we can actually use this thing to go through the different levels. As you can see, it's a very easy way to look through, and that way sometimes when making building with the building blocks, you don't always have to like make so you can see through, because you can go through different levels with that one as well. But I think it only works if you click that to be a roof, then add another one. You can see that's the two levels, so the block tool really powerful, but also very dangerous. So you can see I can go back and forth between those two. Even though that is not counted as a roof, I can still look through it in this way, but it's not a good way really, to be honest. But now my beautiful little Hearthlings can have a happy little home, and they can enjoy that to the end of their days, and maybe we'll bring some new homes soon. But do let me know if there are any specific that you want me to go through. Do you want me to do some two-story buildings, any kind of specific buildings, and go through how we can add some details to make things look pretty cool. Like for example, I have a big building that I want to continue with soon, or a few ones, like this one. It's requiring a few mods, I'm not gonna try that at the moment, but it's really fun. You can make these cool things as you progress with the game. So everyone, thanks for watching today's tutorial with Banto, super long video. I hope you enjoyed though, and thank you for suggesting to make this one, and it actually came out very nice. So if you enjoyed the video, feel free to leave a comment, a like. Thank you to my members on YouTube. If you want to become a member, support me on YouTube as well, feel free to do so. You're awesome for doing that. And thank you for watching, and I hope you all can have a beautiful rest of the day, and see you soon again. Thanks for watching, and take care. Have a good one.